friends, Jill here. Welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. It is another cold day here in Arkansas and rainy day. This is what seems to be our normal right now. It is around 50 degrees. So I am cozy inside, and last night I had my phone and I had some memories popping up on my phone from years and years ago, and it was what my gardens looked like. And so it was what my first garden ever looked like. And I vividly remember my first garden. I lived in a small house in a neighborhood, and I had an old David Brown tractor, and I remember going outside and tilling up a part in my backyard, knowing nothing about gardening, and planting my first garden. And so that memory that popped up on my phone really kind of spurred this idea for a conversation that I wanted to have, and is the video that you guys are seeing today. And that is, what does it mean to be a gardener? Now, before I dive into this, we do have some fun announcements, and I just want to throw those on the front of this video real quick. We did bring back shirts, new and old, per y'all's request. So we have our carrot shirt that is available again. We've got it in the olive and the white fleck. And then we brought to you guys a new t-shirt and tank top. These are probably my favorite that we have ever launched. I'll pop in a photo of them. The link will be down in the descriptions. But the t-shirt and the tank top are this fun little sticker. So the tank top is just a muscle tee that has this. The t-shirt has this design on it of the stacked tomatoes. I absolutely love this. Megan did this artwork for us. She is the artist who has done all of our other stickers prior to this as well. So if you guys want to grab this, we do have a limited, but they will be available on our shop until they sell out. So go snag you one and tag me in your photos. I would love to see it. We do plan on moving forward though with monthly launches for stickers, and I am really excited to have that to you guys soon. We're just kind of working through some fun things, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to grab a t-shirt or a sticker, I'll put all the links in the description below. So now that our announcement is out there, also any of you who have ordered stickers from us or shirts in the past, truly, thank you guys so much. This is the way that y'all support our family. It's fun. I love seeing y'all's photos that you tag me in. I love how you guys support us so well. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much. All right, so now let's dive into the video. This is one that I really am excited to talk to you guys about, because a gardener can mean so many different things. And I really want to kind of just talk with you guys about my personal journey of becoming a gardener, what that looks like, and honestly just encouraging you guys. So a gardener, by definition, if you look it up in the dictionary or do a Google search, it will tell you that a gardener is someone who tends to or cultivates the land as a pastime or as a living. And so when you think about that, you're like, oh, well, that knocks me out. Or when I was a beginner gardener, I was certainly not doing this for a living, right? And so I think that that's kind of the idea that we get wrapped up in sometimes too. I know that there's been times where I've told people I'm a farmer, and they say because I live on an acre, that doesn't classify me as a farmer, or because I don't do this or I don't do that, I'm not a farmer, and you have to do this to be a gardener or this to be a gardener. So I just want to talk about that. I want to walk you guys through the journey of me becoming a gardener, and I also just want to encourage you to not get hung up on titles. What does it mean to be a gardener? Well, by definition, you know, if you're only a gardener, if you're doing this for a living, then that probably knocks a lot of us out, right? Because I'm in a season where I'm not selling much of my stuff right now, so I would be a gardener for my own personal use and then for content. And so that's valuable. And I think a lot of times we can kind of get in our heads about what people say. We can let that comparison kind of creep in and really just kind of get us in a bad mindset. And I just want to kind of debunk some of those things and encourage you guys that whatever season of gardener you're in, whatever season of grower you're in, whatever season of farmer you're in, it has value. And so, like I had mentioned, my first garden, I lived in a subdivision. I was pretty young, maybe 19, 20. I had an old David Brown tractor that I borrowed from the farm that I worked on and just tilled the land. I had no idea. I couldn't even tell you where I bought the seeds. If I had to guess, probably from, you know, Walmart or maybe the co-op. And I threw stuff in the ground. I actually vividly remember growing watermelon and not even really eating a lot of watermelon. And so I thought, well, why would I do that, right? Like, why would I grow something I don't even eat? Now I know that you don't do those sort of things. But back then I was just excited to grow anything. Was I a gardener? Absolutely. I was a growing gardener. I was a learning gardener. I was a beginner, inexperienced gardener. But the minute that I tilled that land and the minute that I put that seed in the ground, that deemed me worthy to be a gardener. And so I want to encourage you, the minute that you start anything, whether you're putting soil in a container, whether you're growing in a Greenstalk, whether you are tilling up a plot of land, whether you've made a raised bed out of cinder blocks that you found around your property, the minute that you commit to do it is the minute that you become a gardener. And so that is really what I want to talk to you guys about and encourage you that we are all gardeners. We're different scales. And I wish that as a culture, I do believe it is a cultural thing. I wish that as a culture, we didn't have those mindsets that we have to be this level to be excellent, or we have to do this to be considered that. I think it puts us in a bad mindset, and you guys know I'm a pretty positive person, and so I mentally like to stay in a good place. And the way I view it is, if I am learning with each new season and I am doing better for the following season, then I'm growing as a gardener and I'm worthy to be called a gardener. And so after that first year of that David Brown tractor tilling in the ground, growing watermelons that I didn't even eat, I took a couple seasons off and I didn't grow food anymore because I didn't know enough about it and I just didn't have enough passion to keep it going. Well, then I married Nathan, and that man is a huge supporter of my dreams, and so I remember me being like, oh, I really want to grow a garden. We bought our first home, which was a log cabin. It was beautiful. It was set on an acre. Like, it had the perfect spot for a garden. I'm actually going to find some photos and plug it in. And so we spent all day. I had at this point started following people on social media, pulling a lot of inspiration. One of the first gardeners that I followed was Jessica, and she was a huge encourager to me to just grow food, that it can look different than someone else. You can grow food and not ever have the intention to sell it. And so that was kind of where I fell into, as I was dabbling into like doing this, like the idea of doing this for a living. I thought that was really cool, but I didn't know anything about it, so I knew that was far-fetched. But as soon as I started really planting a garden, I knew that I wanted to do this and be a farm that the community knew. And I wanted to be a farm that provided to my community. And I didn't know how to navigate that because I didn't know how to grow food. And so we just made this little raised bed garden in our backyard, and it worked. I mean, I was growing all of my starts in red Solo cups. I had no grow lights. I had no greenhouse. I was growing them on my back porch. It was a hot mess. And somehow I managed to get decent enough starts to put into my garden that I actually yielded a lot of food. I had baskets full of cherry tomatoes. I had more peppers than I knew what to do with. I was actually growing food, even though by definition, I was not a gardener and I had no idea what I was doing. But I was faithful to being committed to learn and figure it out. So in the 4 years Nathan and I lived there, I learned to grow a lot of food. We had a raised bed garden. We also had an in-ground garden where we did, more tomatoes. We did beans. We did okra and peas and larger things that we didn't have the space for in that raised bed. Was I selling my produce? No. I would give some to our neighbors. I would take things up to our local gym, but I was not selling my produce at that point. So by definition, I was not considered a gardener. Now, was I a gardener? Absolutely. I was learning so much. In those 4 years, I was watching YouTube videos, I was searching Instagram, I was following all my favorite gardeners. Like, I was really just committed to, I really want to do this, and knowing that I actually really want to pursue this as a career. And so that was the fun thing for me, is I grew food any and every way that you could grow food. I mean, I had containers, I had the raised beds, I had the in-ground. I was doing it all on a very sloppy level, but I was still growing food. I was still making an impact. I was canning pickles. I was canning tomatoes. We were eating fresh from the garden. I felt so empowered that a girl who really knew nothing about growing food was actually successfully growing food. And that was super, super encouraging to me. And I want to encourage you guys too. It is a journey. When I talk about my journey, I'm like 8 years into this journey. I am still learning how to grow food. 8 years into this journey. I know when I'm old and I am telling my grandchildren these stories, there are still going to be things that I am learning that I can pass down to help them do it better. And I think that that's really the cool thing, is that we're always learning something new. We're always going to have to adapt. We're always going to have to adjust. We're going to have to, look at our garden based off of our goals. And that's something I want to encourage you guys to do too. If your goal is to just try to grow food, be mindful of that and don't get discouraged that you are trying to do something. If you're a beginner gardener and you've never grown food and your goal is just to grow food, keep in mind you've never done this before. So anything you pull out of your garden this year is a victory, because you're doing something that you've never accomplished before. That is huge. It doesn't matter what title someone does or doesn't give you. You just made it, right? You just became a gardener, and that is exciting. If you're a couple years into this and you're wanting to upscale, maybe you are wanting to do a farmer's market, or maybe you're wanting to look into a CSA, and those are your goals, have grace for yourself and realize that it is a continual process. You're going to be continuing to learn and be a better gardener, a better grower, a better farmer. And so as the years go on, and now we've been at our current place, we will have been here for 4 years. In June, I have expanded my space. Now we've got in-ground the gardens, we've got the raised bed garden, we've got the container gardens. I'm doing all these things. Now I'm in a season where I'm not even going to be selling produce, and that's okay because I'm still providing for my family, and I'm in a season where I know that this has value. And I'm in a transition. And so for those of you who are transitioning, maybe from one home to another home, from one state to another state, maybe you're transitioning jobs, maybe you're trying to figure out what you want to do for a living, and maybe you've been in the corporate world and you're feeling called to the land and steward that better. Know that there's going to be a transition. There's going to be a season where I'm going to have to figure that out. When I leave here and I go to Jessica's, yes, I know how to grow food, but I'm growing food on a larger scale than I ever have before. And so not being overwhelmed by that and giving myself grace, I'm going to be learning and I'm going to be growing even more. There are so many times that I could get discouraged by what I don't know how to do as a gardener, whether that be crops I don't know anything about, markets I don't know anything about, soil that I'm still trying to learn. There's so many things that I don't know, but there are so many things that I do, right? I know how to grow a tomato. I know how to grow a cucumber. I know how to do, I know how to do some things, and that deserves some recognition. And whatever you're doing right, focus on that. Be encouraged that you are growing food, you are taking a step towards sustainability, and yes, you may not know it all, and guess what? None of us do. We never will. I truly believe that we will never be in a place where we're like, oh yeah, I've learned everything I want to know about gardening, or I know everything I need to know to be the best gardener, best farmer, best homesteader. Absolutely not. And if we get to that place, that's probably a sticky situation, right? Because we always need to stay in a place where we're willing to learn what someone else has to teach us or what the garden has to teach us. And so as I was just fumbling through all these photos and seeing how far I've come over the few years, it made me really encouraged, because I remember before we knew that we were buying Jess and Maya's house, when we were still in that waiting place, I kept wanting the next thing. I wanted more land. I wanted more growing space. I wanted more animals. I was in a bad mental state of feeling like I needed and wanted more. And then when I take a step back and I look at how far I've come, I realized that there has been so much growth that has taken place in myself, just in how we garden and how we farm, and it's been so encouraging. And so I would challenge you guys, if maybe you have been growing for a few years but you're still not where you want to be and you still have these large goals, that's great. Dream those dreams. You guys know I'm a huge proponent for that. But maybe look back where you started and see all the growth that has taken place and tell yourself that you're a worthy gardener, because you are. Tell yourself that you're doing a great job, because you are. Because every seed you put in the ground and every vegetable that you harvest from your garden means that you are making a huge impact, and you are a good gardener. And I don't know who needs to hear that today. I'm not sure who needs to be encouraged today and hear that they're a good gardener, and that can look so different for so many of us, and that we're all still making a huge impact, and that it's still worth pursuing. But I just felt the need to take a minute and tell you guys that by definition, I'm not a gardener. But I'm one of the best gardeners I know, because I am always learning and I'm always growing. And so are you. You may, by definition, not be a gardener. We need to change that on Google too, just my own personal opinion. By definition, we may not be this thing, but we are pretty dang good at it, right? And so I just wanted to shoot this video and encourage you guys, show you guys some of the footage of our journey as we're about to embark on this new journey, kind of really seeing where it started. I had fun looking through these photos. The rest of this video will kind of be just a slide of all the different photos of my gardens throughout the year, and I just thought it would be really sweet. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you soon.